And today on our A to Z, our Diction-ary of Voice, we are looking at co-anchors, cold copy and comb filtering. Hello, I'm Peter Stewart, and thank you for joining me today. Yeah, these are our pocket-sized episodes to help you get a better broadcast podcast and voice over voice. And a lot of this has come from, 30 years. Where did that go? God. Blink, there it's gone. 30 years career either side of the microphone, both as a presenter, a producer. I have done thousands of episodes of podcasts. I have also done a fair smattering of voiceovers for various commercials and also TV stations as well, certainly radio too. I have done, tens of thousands of radio programs and radio news bulletins, more than I could possibly count. Not strictly true, but certainly tens of thousands over my 30-year career. So and written a whole load of books and articles and done face-to-face training as well for and with the BBC. So this is where I get a lot of my knowledge from, being trained by the BBC and then going around the country, going around other countries as well, training people how to use their voice. In that particular case, obviously for broadcast, but also similar techniques for podcasting and voiceover as well. Hello, thank you for joining me. Quick CV or resume for you there. What are co-anchors, Peter? Co-anchors, two presenters working together in partnership with an on-air role divided between them. Co-anchors are often heard, certainly on podcasts, usually. In the UK, you have co-anchors on a breakfast show, certainly in commercial radio, very often, and also very often TV news bulletins or news programmes are presented by two people as well, co-anchors. Obviously, there's a bit of a skill when you've got two people presenting a programme. You've got to know, like, and trust that other person. You've got to know that if you make a mistake, they'll pick up on it. You've got to know that if a story comes in, most usually scripts are divided anyway in the writing process between person A and person B. But sometimes if you've got some late news coming in, you may be reading it off a computer screen. Yeah, you probably seen the situation. There's been a terrorism incident, or there's been a force of nature that's happened, a fire, a flood, something like that, and you see the news presenters looking down through the glass panel in the top of their desk, and they're reading something straight off the wires, in other words, from a news agency, or maybe somebody in a back office that is writing some information on the screen. And between you and me, because I'm I've seen behind the scenes, a lot of that information is coming, maybe there's a whole paragraph, but you don't necessarily want, as a presenter or indeed a producer of that show, to have one person just reading all of that paragraph. Because what is that other person doing? They may not be shown on camera, but if they are on camera, what are they doing? They're kind of glancing around a little bit awkwardly. They're also looking down at the words as well on their screen. They're looking at the camera. No. All of that is a bit awkward. So what happens is they take their non-verbal cue from each other. Yeah. So what happens is one person will come to the end of the sentence and then pause slightly, and the other person will take the co-anchor. That's what we're talking about. The co-anchor will take that as their cue, their prompt to read the next couple of sentences themselves, while the person A, who has now stopped reading, will read ahead and just check any other maybe awkward words, what is coming up. They're also getting direction in their ear as well, of course, of what to do. If you're just reading that blind, cold reading, in other words, it's something that you haven't actually seen before, you're reading it direct, you don't know where there's going to be some awkward words coming up. You don't know how well it's been written. You don't know there isn't a typo, mistake in that. Maybe a sentence is going to stop halfway through, for example. Yeah, so you've got to be really careful. Having co-presenters means that while one person is reading, the other person can read ahead and also get direction in their ears. It also means that you've got a bit of variety. Very often it's a man-woman partnership. Very often it's somebody else who can be asking the questions while someone else is thinking of more questions to ask. They can be sending notes to the other person. Oh, it's a bit boring, we need to move on. Or this is a particular line of inquiry I want to investigate. Obviously that can be done in a radio situation, can't be done, or a podcast situation, can't be done on a TV program, because you can't be passing notes to each other, obviously. So co-anchors. And also there I mentioned cold copy, which is something we're going to be mentioning anyway. Cold copy, a previously unseen script. You may be asked to read cold or read a cold script. In a voiceover situation, that could be, we've booked the studio for an hour, we've just got 5 minutes left. Do you mind? Can you just read this cold? You haven't seen it before, I know. Let's just get your take on this. We'd be really interested, really grateful. Thanks very much indeed. We don't have much time, but let's just see whether we can knock this off and how it's going to sound. Yeah? And obviously, if you're a pro, you won't need to sit down and to read it through several times and to do lots of underlinings and put in where you're going to be taking a breath and asking what your motivation is, because you should be able to do that in the moment. You pick up the script. Yeah, I've got that. How long do you want it to be? 30 seconds. Okay, let's go for it. Haven't got much time. And after a while, of course, you will be able to nail a 30-second script in 30 seconds or thereabout, maybe a second either side, maybe with half an eye on the clock. But also, you get to feel that you have an internal kind of clock, if that makes sense. And you get to know by looking at the length of the script and how fast you're reading what 30 seconds is. Yeah, so they are co-anchors, cold copy. Finally today, comb filtering. Yeah, what is comb filtering? In our last couple of minutes today, it's also called phasing or colouring. So it is when two versions of the same sound play at slightly different times, and we're talking milliseconds here. For example, when two mics are live or recording and the voice of one speaker is heard not only through their mic but also very slightly through the other mic as well. And this can cause some frequencies to be cancelled out and slightly distorts the true sound. Now, it can be fixed by reducing the possibility of one voice being picked up by two mics, lowering the level of that second mic, moving those mics further away from each other, having a screen between the two mics, or most simply turning the mic slightly so each pickup pattern works in an optimum way. You may want to go back and listen to all of that again. But essentially, if you've got two mics together and both of them are live, in other words, they're both on, then my voice speaking into my mic here is also inevitably going to be slightly picked up the mic over there that person B is going to be talking into as well, and vice versa. Yeah. So what you want to do is move those mics slightly away from each other, or put maybe a perspex screen that you got left over from COVID in between, so the voice going into this mic isn't also being picked up by that mic as well, albeit at a low level. Because if it is, then it's going to slightly colour the sound of the original voice on that original mic. It's going to start sounding a little bit thin, a little bit tinny. It's going to be phasing slightly, yeah? Comb filtering, also called phasing or colouring. Okay, hope that's helped. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to be looking at, conversational read, yeah, and some different terms and words for a conversational read, a conversational show, copy marking, a brief look at that, and also a CTA. What's a CTA? We'll find out tomorrow on another day of Get a Better Broadcast Podcast and Voice Over Voice. From London, I'm Peter Stewart.